What is up, Clashers? This is Craze and I'm back with another video, and this video is going to be all about pets. Pet information and pet hero combinations will be the essence of this video. So, one thing I just want to say is that essentially all pet hero combinations comes down to the current situation that you are in or what you are trying to accomplish in Castle Clash. So, since there are so many game modes, it's hard to put together the perfect list, but here will follow as much useful information as I could gather for pet hero combinations that can actually be used, tweaked or altered, whatever you want, and this can basically increase your fighting strength, your defending, or your potential survival time. Alright. So for convenience sake, because I know there are 12 pets at the moment, I've put in the times for the legendary pets and for the ordinary pets. So if you wanted to see information on a specific pet, you can just jump right on ahead at these specific times that I've displayed here. So without any further ado, let's jump right into this video. So up first we have Mini Angie. She's our first legendary pet that we're going to be talking about. So just some quick information about Mini Angie that you might not have known. She's the third most liked pet according to Castle Clash forum, and she actually has an auto proc skill. So she will auto proc every 6 seconds. So her skill basically reads: reduces damage taken by an allied hero with the lowest HP by X% for X seconds. She also recovers the hero's HP by an X% of her attack, which will obviously then go up as her level goes up, and then cooldown 6 seconds. So she will auto proc every 6 seconds. Alright? So just some other things you might have known. In the compendium, she is involved by reducing construction costs and construction speed, while also increasing the amount of red crystals that you obtain from the Lost Realm. This pet kind of acts like a mini Triantar, except she doesn't really revive. So she's great for Herby monsters and hero trials for extra healing, and she's also very good for snipers if they're dealing with, let's say, arrow towers. So also she could be very useful in boss fights if you are struggling with tanking a boss. So 90% of the time I would pair Mini Angie with either Pumpkin Duke or Michael. But you can also make an awesome pet for almost any hero and will work in almost any game mode. So this is actually the most versatile and personally my favorite pet. Up next we have our second legendary hero called Little Havoc. So some information about this pet is that this pet actually has the highest attack of all the pets. And his ability basically reads: he has a 60% chance to deal X% of pet attack damage to a nearby enemy hero with the lowest HP when its hero attacks. Alright? It also reduces the target that it hits attack and attack speed by 50% for 3 seconds and then with a cooldown. Okay? In the compendium, this pet helps to increase shards that are obtained from dungeons, increases the red crystals that you obtain from Lost Realm, and it gives you a resource bonus when you raid. So this pet is great at dealing high damage and also debuffing the enemy by reducing their attack and attack speed. So I would put this with almost any hero that you want to use on tough bosses where you will need the boss to be reduced with attack and attack speed, on a tank, or on any hard hitter that's standing in the front line, since its hero has to attack in order for this thing to proc. So thus I would suggest pairing Little Havoc with either Skull Knight, Michael, Mectessa, Trixie Treat, or any of your other hard hitters or tanks. Our next legendary pet that we'll be dealing with is actually our Christmas pet called Ulefant. So this pet actually is classed as a shielder. This pet shares the lowest movement speed along with Doom Balloon, and his skill basically reads: has a 60% chance to cast a shield lasting 3.5 seconds, or actually X seconds, on 2 nearby allied heroes with the lowest HP when its hero is attacked. The shield increases dodge rate by 30% and grants immunity to stun and fear, and then with an X second cooldown, and this cooldown actually increases over time, which makes sense because the shield that lasts will actually increase for each hero. In the Compendium, Ulifant actually helps to increase the XP that you obtain from Here Be Monsters and decreases the incubation time of eggs in the Pet Plaza. It's a fairly new pet that's very similar to Mini Angie in regards that it does grant a shield, but it does not heal. Because this pet increases the dodge rate of 2 allied heroes, it may make logical sense that it should be used on an enemy that already has a high dodge rate or a hero that is busy tanking. For this reason, I use my Ulifant almost exclusively on Phantom King, and that's basically just for Lava Fall, but you could pair Ulifant with a tank, especially those that you use during boss battles or during the demon. Our second last legendary pet that we'll be talking about is Chickaboom, also one of my favorite heroes. What's awesome about this hero is that it basically attacks, it procs every second that its hero attacks. So this pet will be attacking every second if your hero is attacking every second. Currently it actually has no help in the Compendium, but its skill does read, fires a rocket when its hero attacks, dealing X% of pet attack damage to a random enemy. It has a 20% chance to deal 5 times this damage, okay? Target also takes 50% more damage for 1 second. So obviously this makes sense that this pet will be great with a hero that has high attack speed. Thus, bigger chance for Chickaboom to be attacking every second the faster its hero attacks. So I would suggest pairing Chickaboom with either Skull Knight, Phantom King, Grimfiend, Mectessa, Ronin, Ninja, or Destroyer. But it can obviously be changed depending on which game mode you are busy with in most game modes such as Lava Isle 4, where it's used quite oftenly. So our last legendary pet is actually our newest pet in the game, called Persalot. Its skill reads, when its hero attacks, Persalot deals X% pet attack damage to 2 enemy heroes in the target area and reduces their energy regain rate from normal attacks and receiving damage only by an X% for an X seconds, okay? And with a 5-second cooldown. Okay, so we have another pet that reduces enemy energy, but it does it in such a way that it may not be of as much help. Heroes like Rockno and Revenant are immune to its effects, and both of these are used as tanks, and quite oftenly I might add, so putting it on your main tank or hard hitter won't really be the best choice. I suggest sparing Persalot for situations such as demons, boss, Lava Isle, or whenever scatter is almost essential in your team. So pairing Persalot with a hero will depend on the situation. So it will be hard for me to point out certain heroes for this pet, but if I really had to pick one, I normally put my Skull Knight or Phantom King on Persalot, and then it might come down to putting it on Rockno. Our next and first common pet is Draco. So according to Castle Clash Forum, this is the second most useless or disliked pet of all the pets. It has the lowest attack of all pets, and it also has the lowest percentage chance to use its skill. This pet is classed as a damager pet, and its skill reads, has 40% chance to deal X% pet attack damage to a random nearby enemy hero, and targets around it when its hero attacks. Also reduces energy of targeted heroes by 30 with a X second cooldown. In the Compendium, the Draco increases both shards from dungeons and red crystals from Lost Realm, and also increases the XP you obtain from Here Be Monsters. This pet literally screams scatter, okay? Scatter team. Anytime when you're trying to use scatter, be it the boss, raiding, when you're facing the demon, or whatever, this is your go-to pet. Not much can really be said about this pet, besides keeping in mind that he has a radius in which his skill will activate on an enemy, so keep that in mind by putting him on a hero that is dealing in close combat rather than range. So thus I would suggest pairing this with any scatter hero such as Phantom King, my Skull Knight which has scatter, heroes like Heartbreaker, or any corrode hero such as Grimfiend or Beast Tamer, and sometimes I might actually pair this hero with Michael, which works great for me. The next pet is our healing pet called Bublo. According to Castle Clash Forum, this is the most liked pet, and what's awesome about this pet is that it's a class healer and has an infinite range with autoproc. In the Compendium, this hero boosts hero revival times, which are shortened, and increases the XP that you obtain from both Yomi monsters and dungeons. So its skill reads, restores HP of 3 allied heroes with the lowest HP by X% pet attack damage every X seconds. It also increases their movement speed by an X% for 2 seconds. Alright, this pet is quite tricky, alright? There are a lot of options. When attacking, restoring HP is awesome, okay? Especially when you're sniping or using tanks. But a higher skill level is needed. That's why I suggest taking it up as much as possible and as quick as possible. So snipers tend to be in combat for long periods of time during things such as guild wars, and they may actually be hit by counter snipers. So healing will obviously help for their survival. Defensively, it doesn't really matter who you pair him with, but this is a pet that you'll want standing around, especially during Guild Wars defense. Once it levels up, it's going to make sniping a tougher proposition for your enemy. That's why I would suggest pairing this pet with at least one of your heroes in your team 99% of the time. And heroes to pair it with, I would suggest any healer such as Golem, or any sniper such as Warlock or Ares, and these days a lot of people are also pairing it with Walla Walla or Anubis. The next common pet that we'll be dealing with is actually the third most disliked pet, okay? It's classed as a damager and it deals area damage. In the Compendium, the Phoenix increases red crystals from the Lost Realm and decreases hero revival time. Its skill reads, has a 42% chance to set a target's location on fire when its hero attacks. It deals X% pet attack damage to targets within that area over 3 seconds and reduces their movement speed by X% for X seconds. So since this pet actually does area damage, it is awesome to take down mobs and reduce movement speed, okay? I've also seen this hero help out a lot when it comes to sniping in situations such as Guild Wars and defending during Wretched Gorge and raids, okay? When fighting the Archdemon or the Goblin or the boss, and you're going to be using the slowdown strategy, this pet will help out as well. I like using my Phoenix with either Vlad, Harpy Queen, or any of my snipers, and sometimes I might put him on Druid or Ice Demon when I'm using the slowdown strategy for Archdemon or Boss 4. Our nature pet is the next pet, which is called Aviar. It is classed as a damager, and in the Compendium it helps to protect your resources from raids while you are away, and also increases shards that you obtain from dungeons. This pet's skill reads, when its hero attacks, Aviar has an 65% chance to deal X% attack damage to a random nearby enemy hero and silence it for 2 seconds, which is awesome, and it has an X% or X second cooldown. So Aviar will be most useful in game modes which include like hand-to-hand fighting or hand-to-hand combat, stuff like boss fights, labyrinth, lost battlefield, arena, and raiding. If you snipe for raids and guild wars, then this pet is probably not that important. Thus, I would suggest pairing this pet with Skull Knight, Dreadrake, Rockno, heroes like Creation 1 and Mectesa. And yeah, those are the main heroes that I would suggest pairing up with Aviar. Up next, we have the base damaging pet called Doom Balloon. So, according to statistics, this is the second most liked pet, while simultaneously also being the most useless pet, because I would assume it's probably because of its shared lowest movement speed and basically not being that good with heroes besides taking out buildings. Okay, it's classed as a damager and it does auto-proc. In the Compendium, it increases construction speed while reducing construction cost for buildings and increases XP that you obtain from dungeons. Its skill reads, deals X% pet attack damage to a maximum of 5 nearby enemy buildings every 6 seconds. There's the auto-proc. It also increases the damage that these buildings take by X% for 3 seconds. So this pet is mostly used when trying to pass dungeons and take out buildings in game modes such as Guild Wars. Nowadays, it's also used in Lava 4 to help people survive there, and a variety of heroes are suitable for this pet, depending on the situation and the use that you want this pet for. But the heroes that I mostly use Doom Balloon on would be either Ronin, Little Nick, Santa Boom, Gunslinger, and Thunder God. Our next hero is also classed as a damager and has the second lowest percentage chance to use its skill, and it is Celestin. In the Compendium, this pet aids by decreasing construction time of buildings and increase the amount of shard drops from dungeons. So, its skill reads, it has a 56% chance to deal X% pet attack damage to a nearby enemy hero when its hero attacks. It also removes the target's buffs with an X-second cooldown. Since this pet removes buffs, it is perfect to take out tanks, okay? That's why I would suggest putting it on one of your own tanks or your main tanks or any of your frontline hard-hitting heroes. Its hero needs to attack in order for this pet to proc, and its target must be within a close radius for its hero. Again, I would suggest putting this pet on a tank such as Skull Knight, Dreadrake, Rockner, or Creation 1, or any of your other hard hitters. Our very last pet is one of our more recent pets, and it is called Auraria. Just some fun things to know about Auraria. She has the highest movement speed of all pets. She's classed as a damager, and her skill affects multiple targets, 1 to 3 targets. And currently she has no Compendium boosts. So, her skill reads, has a 50% chance to deal X% pet attack damage to 1 to 3 random nearby enemy heroes and stun them for X seconds when its hero is attacked, and then has an X second cooldown that will decrease with every successive leveling up. So finally, yes, we have a pet that can stun. What more do you want from a pet? Okay, but in all seriousness, let's analyze this. So your hero must be attacked for this pet to actually proc. So putting this on a hero that tanks is a solo damage hero, a scatter or corrode team, or any frontline hero in your team makes it actually a very versatile pet, okay? It can stun up to 3 heroes in an area, which could give you the upper hand in areas and game modes basically such as Lost Battlefield and Hero Trials, basically all of those type of stuff where you want to stun multiple targets. I tend to keep my Auraria on either Dreadrake or Creation 1 because they are my main tanks and main frontline attack heroes, but there are actually many options available for this pet.